Welcome to the Through the Lane podcast with the co-host Lane. Today we will most likely have a shorter episode. Carmine is still in New York, but today we're going to start off with this happened right after I finished recording the Demar DeRozan trade, and it was pretty big. I like it for the Kings because I think the Kings needed a third star, and Keegan Murray isn't taking that step. He looks like a very good role player. Great role player, but he's not showing, he has potential, but he's not there yet. And they're in the window right now where they can't sit and wait and let Keegan Murray develop. In a way, they've kind of just got to go take it. And DeMar DeRozan, because Harrison Barnes, let's be honest, was a bit of a hole when you look at it outside the shooting guard spot, but they've kind of got that fixed. They're figuring that one out. So I think bringing in DeMar DeRozan was big for them because they needed to add a third star, and for DeMar DeRozan, he can kind of just sit back and he can do his mid-range game without really hurting anybody. Because they're two, I would say, superstar-esque players or three top-tier stars. And the trade, they gave up Chris Durante, and the fall of Chris Durante needs to be studied, right? He's a streaky scorer, 13.8 points per game when you look it up. It's really crazy if you've not looked up his stats. Because he had a really good rookie year. He was really old for a rookie, right? He is 27, he was 24. Right? So he comes in, 13.1 points, 43% from the field, 37% from three. Looks great, right? Second year, 7.9 points. Only plays 46 games. He doesn't he misses about half a season. But this is where the issues come in. 37% from the field, and 31% from three. And a massive nosedive. Then last year in 59 games, right? 38% from the field, and 35% from three. 3.9 points. He only just finished his third year. His decline is insane. I think sending him to the Bulls is a good reset because they aren't contending. They aren't looking to contend. I think it's a great reset for them because, they needed to kind of just, replace some things. And I think it looks good for them now. I like it. The Bulls, Harrison Barnes, I think ends up going to, let's see. Harrison Barnes goes to the Spurs. And I understand why you put him there because he's a veteran, whatnot. And then we'll talk about a minor trade in just a second. But at the same time, I feel like it's an abundance of forwards and wing players on a Spurs team that has a lot of young depth that needs to play. And I think you're kind of taking it up. With that, let me look at their transactions. Because so they haven't brought in Chris Paul and Harrison Barnes. So but again, I'm not 100% sold on it. They also acquired a future first round selection pick, and then I think the Bulls got 2 second round picks out of it. The Bulls really didn't get much, but I think they were kind of just looking to offload DeMar DeRozan. For the amount of money he wants and would get, he's not really deserving of, I guess. He's starting to regress. In a way, let's look at his stats. I don't think he's an all-star this past year. The Bulls, from the Bulls' point of view, this is great, right? The Bulls put themselves in purgatory, and they did not look great. CPOY 2. But they didn't look great. And so, clutch player. Oh, he finished second clutch player. But they just didn't look great. They looked like you're middle of the road with the Vucevic trade. Zach LaVine is not doing good. He was not an all-star last year, but was an all-star the past 2 years. But you're kind of seeing his numbers decline again. Kind of where they were when he was with the Spurs. Kind of in line with the Spurs. Which is fine. So I think it fits that he doesn't have to play a league high 38 minutes a game. He's very efficient from the mid range. Can hit down a solid amount of threes, about 1-3 a game. But your 3-point shooter is Keegan Murray, and then if Devin Herter or Kevin Herter is your starting two, then Kevin Herter. Those are your two snipers. Play a steal a game, almost a block a game. 24 points per game. I look at him as more of a second or third star, because either the De'Aaron Fox or DeMontis Sabonis are going to be number one. I love it for the Bulls, and I like it from the Spurs point of view. You get a future first. I'm not huge on the future first. They get 2 from the Timberwolves, then you get 1 from the Kings. I get the Kings future first. I don't get the Timberwolves one that you got for Rob Dillingham, because we believe this is a young Timberwolves team. They're probably going to be there 6 years from now, especially with Anthony Edwards on the team. So I never really understood that. But also from, DeMar DeRozan, he gets put in a team that is really a title. I think this puts them as, a title contender. The West is so difficult that a lot of teams can just beat each other up and come out of it, right? We're looking at a conference that's 8 teams deep, right? The Warriors are the bottom half title contenders. They're fringe. I think the Kings are right above them. So I like this. They don't give up Keegan Murray. He looks like their long-term third star. So I like it. The Spurs, meh. Harrison Barnes, cool. Veteran, so leadership and all that. You pair him with Chris Paul and add some extra shooting around Victor Wembanyama, which I expect big things from Victor Wembanyama. Back to the Spurs, though. Devontae Graham was traded. Let me look. And he's traded back to... He was traded back to the Hornets, right? And the Spurs did this to open up cap space. Then the Hornets then waived Devontae Graham. This is wild, right? Let's look at the Devontae Graham stats. His fall off was crazy too. Never really efficient scorer per se, right? He's never shot over 40% from the field, right? When he was with Charlotte, he had 18.2 points per game. It was 38% from the field, and 37% from three. Good 3-point shooter. That's really good percentages when he takes 9.3 threes. The issue is taking 15 shots per game. So then they limit his shots on the Pelicans, right? He's now 11.9 points per game, and it's still 36% from the field. Terrible efficiency, right? So that he goes to the Spurs and he doesn't play much at all because, again, yes, he puts up a lot of points, but he's missing a lot of shots and it becomes darn near unplayable, right? So they do that, and it's sad to see. Statistically, he was never a good guy. He put up a great player. He put up a lot of points, but it was very inefficient. It's what they call empty stats. But they did that to open up cap space. And I think they gave up, a second-round pick in return? Or they got a second-round pick in return? No, they didn't get much back. I think maybe cash. I think it was cash considerations for him. Right? Let me look it up. So it has not been made final, I guess. I'm not sure. But yeah. Raekwon Gray. They also traded Raekwon Gray to Chicago. San Antonio got another 2031 first round pick. They're gonna have a lot of picks that year. They're gonna have 3, 4, maybe. But yeah, they get the clear up cap space. I guess they're bringing Chris Paul and Harrison Barnes because Harrison Barnes has a hefty deal himself. Let's look at his contract. He's making cap hits 18 mil. Let's look at this. Yeah, 18 to 19 next year. So, I guess he signed a 4-year deal in 2019. Yeah, so I guess this is where he is going to go up. That's where they needed the money. because they know that take a veteran on. And I guess I like he starts this year and bench next year. So, as well. Also, Donovan Mitchell signed his extension. So far, no issues with the Cavs. We'll wait and see. It looks interesting right now. Now, on to this. And I know we keep covering kind of the same thing, but this is big stuff. Bronny James made his Summer League debut, and he's already out of Summer League because he's swelling in his knee, which is not a good thing at all because that happened to Kawhi, and then he ended up having a torn ACL. Am I saying Bronny has a torn ACL? No. Am I saying he could? Yes. But we don't know yet. But he had a terrible first game. He made one solid bucket where, like, you can tell there's stuff there. Like, there's always guys that come out of college and you're like, oh, he can make it. But you're like, he's way off. Like, it's not, oh, okay, he this far off. I mean, Bronny got his ankles broken. He did not look good defensively. Missed a lot of shots, and they weren't good shots either. And he has the same, like, 3 moves that he just rotates through. There's no, like, variability, like, where he mixes it up. He's got, like, 3 moves in his bag, and he'll just repeat them. And I think they played one of the Kings Summer League teams, and the Kings just caught on. And so they were just like, okay, this is where we're just going to do this to him now. And he's, like, 2 of 10, 2 of 8. It was not good shooting-wise. And he didn't really do much else. I mean, Don Connect did not do good either. And we'll go into Summer League after the Classic, the California Classic, but because this is when you first get to see prospects. And I've been saying this, let's see what Bronny looks like when Summer League starts, because this is really going to tell us, because there's a lot of guys that are not NBA level guys or rookies or guys undrafted free agents trying to make a name out of themselves. Trying to make it. Guys are in the G League. So pretty much competition he's going to be facing up against next year if he's in the G League. Right? Or just lesser guys. So he should, potentially go off. If Bronny has the upside they say, he should show flashes. The only flash there was like his first bucket where he hit like a step back 2. And that looked about it. He really missed his 2 free throws. He missed his 3s. It did not look good. Right, like it was not a good out. The only good takeaway was, well, that one shot, man, it's a good one. Like it's a good move, and it's like, yeah, but look at everything else. 7 other shots. I think he made the other one was like he drove to the basket and got an open layup. Like it was an easy 2. So it just did not look good. And then he has, he was like, I have nerves. Like, it's one of those things where it's like you really. I get it, but at the same time, that should not be an excuse for your outing, because it's not in a big crowd. I get it if it was your first regular season game and you kind of like ducked it, then okay. But it's Summer League, man, and it's kind of like where you see prospects go nuts. And the knee swelling issue, one of the other concerns everyone had was his health, right? And it's cropped back up again. It's gonna be hard, man. It's gonna like the gap. He's got a long way to go. You kind of had a feeling the Lakers saw that when they said he'd spend most of the year in the G League, which is not a good sign. But it doesn't. I lost my train of thought. It doesn't. Don't Connect did not look good either. Like in this, if I'm a Lakers fan and if I'm the Lakers brass, that doesn't look good because if Don Connect's older, he should be dropping. You're looking at some of these other guys and some undrafted guys dropping 20 and 9. There's a guy that dropped like 28 and 12. Had a heck of a game, right? This looks concerning. Now, I think Don Connect is going to be a good role player. I think, but the guy for Wake Forest, I think, and I think I have the video, and I'll try to put it in the podcast.
Let the offensive game come to him. Golke. Let's get excited right there. Nice little pump fake space on Filipowski. Gets him up in the air. Splash.
He shoots 3s, and he's doing the same moves, and he's getting it up. I think that's a guy that belongs on an NBA roster just because he can snipe, and I think that belongs in the NBA. I think there's some teams that could use some snipers. If I'm the Lakers, I know he's on the Thunder League summer team, but if I'm the Lakers, I'm like, I need you. And just give him on a 2-way deal because that doesn't put much pressure on him if he performs or not. But it's kind of like we'll take a flyer, and if you do good, we'll promote you to a standard contract and then move forward. But yeah, Bronny, man, it just does not look good. It just does not. Doesn't look good. Dog connected doesn't look good. We'll go into the first round top picks and top players and how they performed in Summer League, and then probably some guys that
jacked up, excited to play, and so you want them to stick to their strengths and not try to, reinvent the wheel.
We had a lot of refs in the old days that went right to 3.
Ford from 18, yes sir. Arms, step back long 2. He's in his bag to start.
Wow. A little confidence there.
Yeah.
Step back.
Well, this is a confident kid. We take a look at Bronny James, who missed his.
Showed me up with this one guy from the Kings. Or, not showed me up, but, surprised me. Like this one guy from the Kings. On to next. Team USA. News broke this morning that Kawhi Leonard is stepping out of Team USA. And this is big. This is, huge news. Not really. His health is a big thing, and I guess, Derek White will take over, which is crazy. They pass up on a lot of other guys. But, this team is still going to be insane. Let's look at the roster. Also, if you've been keeping up with it at all, 17-year-old Cooper Flagg, who is probably going to be this upcoming year's first-round pick, played. And on video, what they show, he had 14 points, right? That's solid. I don't care if he was 7 to 20, whatever, as a 17-year-old, and he had 14 points. And it was a demanding 14 points. He domed one over Anthony Davis, and then he went over Drew Holiday and did a tip back, and he stuffed Anthony Davis. He didn't stuff him, but he contested and got the ball out of Anthony Davis' hand. It looked good, right? 17 years old, brother has yet to play college basketball, and he looked solid against NBA players, so you're going to give him another year of college basketball. Brother's going to be good. And so that is someone where everyone's looking at, if you have a chance to get Cooper Flagg, you got to take that chance, right? Because, Cooper Flagg looks really good. He's got all the intangibles that you want. I suggest if you're a big basketball fan,
A lot going on there.
just reading into it, but yeah, they add another wing to this. Yeah, they've already added Derek White to the thing. Derek White was there. He was kind of helped practicing with the team. Kind of just helping the team scrimmage and stuff. Like Cooper Flagg. Let's look. I think I have Cooper Flagg highlights too. So if I can, I'll put him in. I'll put it in there. Yeah, it says Team Prodigy steals the show. He looked good. Good. I mean, the brother probably doesn't have to play a bit of college basketball. Could show back up at the draft and have just been working on his game all summer and then still go number one. He was that good. 14 points at 17 years old against USA's best. It's crazy. And like doming one over Anthony Davis, kind of just playing physical, did not look intimidated. Like, brother wanted to smoke. He looked really good. Team USA. My thoughts on Team USA is this going to be a good team. I don't think Joel Embiid should be able to play. I think it should be people born in America. I think it should be the place you're born, not citizenship. Now, if the citizenship does not have one, then you can kind of just pick where your current citizenship is. But I don't like the Joel Embiid thing. Kind of like how other guys kind of stay, like Jose Alvarado in the Bahamas. But, you know, that's just a minor thing as well. So, moving forward, MLB All-Star Game. And we're not really going to talk much about we're just going to talk about who all made it. Right? Who all made it. I know baseball's not big on this podcast, sadly. But, yeah. There's 34 first-time All-Stars, right? 34. It's a crazy amount. I don't know how many there usually are. But a big name that made it was Paul Skeens. Brother was drafted a little over a year ago. It was like July 7th of 2023. His first overall pick. Then made his MLB debut. He worked his way through the minor leagues. Made his MLB debut. 10-11 starts later. And I mean, the brother's been electric in 10-11 starts. Really, really good. And so he deserved it, honestly. Being there, kind of doing what he wanted to do. Just dominating. Big name, Stephen Kwan. Dude's hitting almost 300. Gunnar Henderson having a breakout year. I didn't think Vlad Guerrero really deserved it. The Blue Jays have been kind of terrible. Looking at Jerickson Profar makes his first one, which is huge. Ketel Marte still going off his postseason high and kind of just dominating. William Contreras makes another one. Fernando Tatis makes it. I don't know if he'll play in it, though, so they may have to put in a backup for that. And then let's look. The pitchers, Tyler Anderson, big second-time All-Star. He had a terrible year last year, which is so huge. Manuel Clase, one of the best closers in the league. Garrett Crochet, brother was a reliever, and it's come to the starter, blowing out his career high innings, and looks fantastic, right? Tanner Houck, man, for so long that guy was struggling, and he makes an All-Star. Seth Lugo, former reliever. Mason Miller, an exciting closer, has made it. And Kirby Yates, at the age of 37, coming off of Tommy John's, right, has less than one run per 9 innings, and it looks fantastic. That's elite. Usually it averages around 3. He's got a 0.84. He looks great, and it's good to see him there. Former Brave. Jeff Hoffman made it for his first time. Hunter Green, Tyler Glasnow, but Tyler Glasnow's now on the IL, of course, so he'll be out. Pitcher I got to see personally Sunday, Ronaldo Lopez made it for the first time. Chris Sale made it for his 8th. That brother's a future Hall of Famer. Tanner Scott, Paul Skeens, Matt Strom, which is huge because he wanted to be a starter, but he's doing great as a reliever. Ranger Suarez, Robert Suarez, Logan Webb. That's crazy. That's Logan Webb's first All-Star. And then Zach Wheeler's second one. All-Star games in sports are crazy. And then reserve, Salvador Perez making his 9th all-time, which is huge. Will Smith making his 2nd. Infielders, Josh Naylor and Isaac Paredes. That shocked me. Isaac Paredes made it because of the Rays been kind of bad. Jordan Westberg made it, and I thought he was very deserving of it. Bobby Witt made his 1st, and Marcus Semien made his 3rd. It just kicked me out of it. 1 second. Okay, there we go. National League, C.J. Abrams. The Juan Soto trade from Nationals to Padres, not the Padres to Yankees, looked like it's worked really well for the Nationals. James Woods debuted, and that brother looks like a powerhouse, going to hit 30 to 40 home runs a year. C.J. Abrams is already an All-Star. Mackenzie Gore's now an All-Star. Those were 2 former first-round picks that kind of fizzled out with the Padres. They just didn't look good. They didn't look like they're developing, and now they developed really well. Like insanely. I love watching prospects develop in baseball. It's just a really cool thing to see how they develop and adjust. And C.J. Abrams looked like he was going to strike out a lot. And then, he didn't have, insane power, but he's kind of looked like now a contact speed guy. Getting on base, 34% of the time, and then just getting a lot of steals. Let's look up his stats. I'll try not to get on baseball too long. I have work. So this episode is being recorded on a Wednesday. It will most likely come out either Wednesday night or Thursday morning. Just depending on the editing. I do have a little bit of editing I got to do, but it shouldn't be much. And, of course, trying to add in the videos. He gets on base at 35% of the time. Slugging almost 500. OPS 845. He looks good, man. So his rookie year, OPS was a 600. That's under league average. League average is about 700 OPS. Slugging 324. On base 280%. Or 28% of the time. It's not good. So average. So the way on base is done is you have your average, like how many times you hit the ball, then that's just your batting average. Then they add how many times you walk, and then you put those two together and you get your on base percentage. So his rookie year, his average was 246, and he got on base 28% of the time. So he was really barely walking, barely. Then last year, he bats 245, and he gets on base 30% of the time. It's increase, right? Still not slugging. I don't think he'll really top 20 homers, 22 homers a year. This year, 276 average, so he's hitting the ball more, and he's walking a bit more. You love to see it, right? Chase rate's down. Everything looks good. Like his exit velo's gone up. Max velo's gone up. He's getting stronger. Barreling the ball more. That's just good. And his weighted batting average, like he should be 5% chance doing more. He's also walking 7.7% of the time. Cutting his strikeouts. Well, I mean, his strikeouts his rookie year was down. Was like a career low, but he was walking 1.7% of the time. And now you're kind of seeing, him go up. He's getting a lot more breaking balls and off speed than he is fastballs right now. I mean, well, he is, but it's starting to change, which is kind of crazy that they had this on here. But yeah, C.J. Abrams making it. Elliot De La Cruz, the dude's electric. I mean, he looks like a Ronald Acuna version of an infielder. Just I think a little more raw. He needs to cut down. He strikes out like 30% of the time, and that's a major issue. He needs to cut that back. But All-Star Luis Ariz, Pete Alonso. Pete Alonso should not have made it. Christian Walker has been insane, on pace for 30-something home runs, over 100 RBIs. He should have made it. Freddie Freeman made it, and Ryan McCann made it as well. Outfielders, Junior Duran made his first one. Riley Green made his first one. That's wild that Riley Green made it, but I think Detroit needed a representative, and they picked him. Kyle Tucker, who will probably not be in it because he's still in the IL, so there'll probably be a replacement, was selected to it as well. Teoscar Hernandez was made it. Jackson Merrill made it, and Heliot Ramos and Brian Reynolds. Jackson Merrill started this offseason as a shortstop. He makes it as a center fielder, and he looks like a Golden Glove center fielder, and possibly, I don't think a Silver Slugger because of the guys that are in there right now, but he looks like one of the better offensive center fielders. He makes that effort, like when Fernando Tatis made the transition from shortstop to center fielder, he struggled badly, so they put him in right field. Jackson Merrill, who's like 21, 22, right? He never played major leagues. Like Fernando Tatis had already been in the major league, so you'd have thought it'd been an easier transition. Jazz Chisholm, who moved from shortstop to center field, is struggling with it. Jackson Merrill does it, and he did it with ease. Brother played at left field last year a little bit. And that was about it. He played more infield, just moving around. He just steps in center field, and he made it look easy. That's one of the reasons why they added him to the roster so much, was because they were like, he may struggle to start the season offensively, but he'll catch on. He did not struggle. He hit almost 300. Then he hit about 240 for a bit, or like 240, so his average started to drop, and then he's back up to hitting like 330. So his average is about close to 300. And he's hitting for a bit more power, right? Heliot Ramos has not been up to like May 24th, right? May 4th. So he's only been in the majors for 2 months. And he made it. And he's been lighting the league on fire. I think he deserved it. 24 years old. Rookie. Ramos, 12 home runs in 54 games. Jackson Merrill's 21 years old, is the youngest All-Star, has 12 home runs, 10 stolen bases, 775 OPS. His defense is kind of carrying him. And then designated hitter, David Fry. He's 27 years old, was not a top 30 prospect in that system. Has a 735 OPS, gets on base at 41% of the time. Dude's just hitting up, doing a great job. You love this. Those are the cool stories. Guys who really shouldn't even be on a roster who are doing great and just kind of show up, show out, and just do really good. You love to see it. So, Marcell Ozuna of the Braves, man. Marcell Ozuna's going on an insane run. And that's it for the All-Stars. I'm really happy outside of the Pete Alonso. I really am happy with all the guys that made it for the All-Star game. Moving on next. Joe Burrow had an idea. All right. Let's look this up. Yeah, for the 18 game idea. Right. And this is like a golden idea. when you read it, you're like, oh, this is genius. This is like genius, right? So you guys got to have 2 bye weeks. And I think it'd be cool to have a normal bye week outs now and have it spread out, but then have like week 13 where you do the Pro Bowl. Every team has a bye week that week, and you do the Pro Bowl where you have 7-on-7 skill drills like the NBA does in baseball. Kind of because having the Pro Bowl at the end of the year and then All-Pro, it just makes it really dumb because some players are not in the Pro Bowl but on All-Pro, and it causes a lot of issues, right? And I really like that idea, having it in season, because there's no contact now, just a lot of screwing around. I think it'd be very nice for a lot of players to kind of just kick back, relax, and have fun. And have, floated the idea of having Christmas off for the whole NFL as a reset, which Burrow dovetailed into his week 13 idea. Golly bum, I cannot talk. It looks like a great idea. Like, if you're going to have them play 17, they're talking about getting rid of some of like the OTAs, cutting that down so the players are healthy. I'm kind of fine with it. I kind of like the preseason stuff because you kind of get to see guys and get acclimatized more. But I love the Joe Burrow idea of the Week 13 thing. I think I've been saying for a few years now that they need to have it in season, because end of season is terrible. Because everyone's done. No one wants to watch it before the Super Bowl, dude. It's boring. You do it mid-season, Week 13, and you're in the season. Yeah, and it also gives guys who had phenomenal first halves of the season recognition. Because at the end of the year, they try to do the same thing. And some of the guys had a terrible second half, so they don't belong on the roster. And then you have some schmucks like, and I say that drives me up the tree, the backup quarterback for the Baltimore's last year, a few years ago, who made it. Brother played like 5 games, made the Pro Bowl. Put me in for 5 games. I'd love to make the Pro Bowl. And he did not play well at all. He had 4 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Because me and Carmine talked about it on here, and he was like, oh, wow, I did not know he played so poorly. I was like, Could not tell me Gardner Minshew that year did not deserve it. But I digress, right? And now we're going to go looking into some NFL teams. It's already going to be a longer episode. But yeah, Panthers. We're going to start talking with the Panthers and Giants. So, yeah, the longer the episode, the more likely I will not have it edited. But I will try. I'll try to find the Bronny. Yeah, let me write that down real quick. Because those are some clips I want to show. But yeah, so talking about the Panthers, right? Receiving core looks a lot more solid now, right? You trade for Dante Johnson and draft Xavier Legette. I said that their receiving core was really bad last year. A lot of guys that you were hoping and praying, like a 3rd-round pick that has a lot of potential, but he's really raw, would make it. You now get a guy that has a lot of potential, but he has a little bit more higher of a floor. And then bringing Dante Johnson, who could be your number 1 if you needed him to. 1,000-yard receiver type guy that I think could do really good. Right, Adam Thielen, you bring him back. They get a new center, Austin Corbett, and left guard from Rams in Seattle. Robert Hunt from Miami. Tommy Tremble. I think they could use Travion Sanders. I think this is the guy that played for Texas. He was at the South Carolina. I really liked him. The guy that took a massive crap on Tennessee 2 years ago. I believe that he could be a great tight end, a really good tight end in the league. They also have Ian Thomas. I think Sanders will end up turning into a really good tight end for them. Jack Plummer, is this the guy that I think it is? No. Oh, that's Louisville's quarterback. Running back wise, you have Chuba Hubbard, then Jonathan Brooks, who's going to be coming off of ACL surgery. Miles Sanders, that just does not look like a good free agent signing. I can't believe the Eagles let him go. I can't believe he's then proceeded to sign with the Panthers, who are rebuilding. Then you have Raheem Blackshear, a very solid running back, and Rashad Penny, and Mike Boone. So, a few, solid backup running backs will probably find their way somewhere. Then you look at defense. You have Derek Brown still. You have Shai Tootle, a D tackle out of from New Orleans. Ashawn Robinson from the Giants. Jadeveon Clowney, I think, was a solid signing. You get him a little bit of a pass rush because they lost Derek Barnes. They're going to have to end up drafting a pass rusher eventually. Shaq Thomas, brother, who's been there for a while. Josie Jewell from Denver, who got hurt early last year, who I think can eventually turn into something. You have Troy Hill. They signed Troy Hill, Dane Jackson, Jordan Fuller, Xavier Woods, J.C. Horn. It's a solid receiving or defensive back group. I still think this team's going to suck because of how inexperienced they are. I think they won't be as bad. I think they'll win like 4 or 5 games. But I don't think they'll be like mid-pack yet. I think they're like either high sucking or low mid-pack, right? I think the Falcons are going to be like high mid-pack, low good, like low contending, right? I think the Falcons still have a way to go. I like looking at this. They brought in 4 free agents in the secondary, and they needed that, right? Troy Hill's a solid defender. Dane Jackson's a solid defender. Jordan Fuller's a really good corner or safety. And Xavier Woods at one point was one of the top defensive backs in the league. And then J.C. Horn, if he can stay healthy, looks great. And I think that's why they brought in all those guys. Linebacker core looks solid. They need someone to pair beside Derek Brown, pass rushing wise. Nick Thurman, who used to be a former Falcon. Tight end group, I'd love to see a better tight end. I'd love to see another real. Adam Thielen is more of a backup. They have, Jonathan Mingo, Ishmael Marset Smith, and Terrence Marshall. 3 guys who, and Davis Daywood, 3 guys who I think can develop into like starting receivers, and that's why they have them on there. And I like that they aren't now the number ones, because if they don't pan out, then you're fine, right? I really like those moves that they pulled. But moving on now to the Giants, and this is big, man. The Hard Knocks has done the Giants dirty, and I put Hard Knocks done.
Obviously, Saquon, franchising and trading him, I don't think is realistic.
Are we positive that nobody's gonna pay him that kind of money? Like, there's nobody in the draft. There's no free agents, receivers they're either gonna be going back to their team at $20 million.
I mean, who would you say would go sign up running back to that dollar amount?
A team anyone that has money to spend.
There's a lot of running backs in free agency.
Yeah, but are any potential difference makers really? Like after you watch this film?
Even if Saquon's number 1 on your board, do you imagine anyone's going to have such a gap between Saquon and Jacobs, Pollard, Henry, whoever else, that they're going to want him at $12 million a year or minus whatever we're willing to eat and send a draft pick?
Right. And then if we did, what would somebody realistically give up?
I just think all the teams that need a running back are going to look at Saquon. Do you feel good about eating $3 to $4 million for a 5th round pick? Like, I wouldn't.
I don't know. There's no guarantee we can trade him. So, having the needs that we have in a $12 million, 27-year-old running back. We're not going to franchise him. Like, it doesn't make any sense to franchise him. So.
Unless you think you can trade him after doing that.
Right. And then could we get something and trade him? What are we really going to get? Unless it got down to like $7 million. And I don't want to offer that because I don't want to be like we disrespected him. There's 31 teams. It only takes one to, maybe be open to doing something. If it doesn't get to that, hey, we're going to do the right thing. We're going to let you hit free agency, find out your market, come back, and let us know if we can match it. If we can, we'll have those discussions.
I mean, in a perfect world, I'd still like to have him back. Until we can prove that we can have a decent offense without him.
Daniel's making a lot of money, and it's the fork. Like, we got to figure out is he the guy? So we got to protect him. We need to put resources there. Yeah. We have Waller, Belly, a healthy Wandell, Hyatt, Slayton. We'll have to find a running back, but upgrade the offensive line, give him a chance.
It would force us to take a running back in the high to mid.
Or we can still sign one. There's going to be guys, if we're patient, that ended up shaking out. Devin Singletary, who was in Houston, played for $275 this year. Joe Mixon may be a cap casualty, so now you got Saquon, Jacobs, Pollard, Eckler. That's 6 guys right there that that are free agents, how many clubs really need running backs where they're going to invest resources in the position. Second week of free agency, I think there'll be some value guys, specifically at the running back position.
I'll put it in there. Right here. And then have everyone look at it. Dude, it is bad. I mean, it is. They just kind of going at, like, there was no need to say what they said. And this is a general manager who kind of took Daniel Jones and is sticking with him. Tommy DeVito may not even make the roster, which is wild to me, because without Tommy DeVito, they would not have done good. I like the Devin Singletary signing. I think they needed that. Eric Gray, I think they, could potentially pluck a guy from whoever falls off from Panthers running back crew. But at receiver, they drafted Malik Neighbors. They have Darius Slayton and Wan'Dale Robinson. They're high on Wan'Dale Robinson. Backups, they have Jalen Hyatt, who did not have a good rookie year, Allen Robinson, and Isaiah McKenzie. With Isaiah Hodgins, who was a really good receiver for them last year. Miles Boykin, Gunner, I can't even say his name. So I think Miles Boykin and Gunner will most likely get cut. Maybe Allen Robinson. They needed some veterans. Offensive line-wise, Andrew Thomas is one of the better left tackles in the league. John Michael Schmitz is one of the better centers in the league. Evan Neal isn't as good as they hoped, but he's still a very solid right tackle. John Runyan. Man, I butcher names like this is a thing. Looks like he's a very solid guard. And then getting Jermaine, I'm not even going to say his last name at left guard. They've done some work to help protect him, right? And then tight end, Daniel Bellinger, Theo Johnson, Jack Stoll. It does not look good, right? No tight end, so they don't have really good tight end spots. I think they could really use, the offensive line's solid, right? I think the guard spots are hit or miss, like boom or bust. I think they could use another running back. And then the defense, right? They let Xavier McKinney go. And so they kind of had to replace it, right? And they also got Brian Burns, Dexter Lawrence, Jordan Phillips from Buffalo, and Kayvon Thibodeau. Dexter Lawrence, I think, came from... No. That's the wrong guy. Then they also had Bobby Okereke, who I really like, Micah McFadden. I think this is going to be a dangerous front seven, like dangerous front seven. And I think they needed that in the division they're in. Secondary, Cordell Flott, Tyler Nubbin, the rookie they drafted in the second round. Jason Pittencock, Dante Banks, former first-round pick, and then Drew Phillips. They're going to have potentially 2 rookies starting. They also brought in Jalen Mills. They also have Isaiah Simmons as well. And they have Aziz Ojolari, Nunez Roches, and Boogie Basham. Deep, like just very solid guys playing for them. Trey Herndon, very good corner. I like what they've done with that, bringing some depth guys. David Long, very good defensive back. Or I saw a defensive back. I like what they've done defensively. Defensively, they're a very solid team. Offensively, they could use some more. Like outside of Malik Neighbors and Darius Slayton, they need another receiver. I think Wandell Moore is more of a backup receiver than he is when you're like a starting slot. I feel like they could use another offensive lineman, and they could really use an overhaul of tight end and running back spot. But there wasn't really no good running backs this year. And tight end wise, I mean, you go out and get Malik Neighbors, and that I think they should have got Malik Neighbors because of how you can't just have a good tight end and bad receivers, right? Like, yes, you kind of, the Chiefs don't even do that. They got very solid receivers and then great tight end. Look at the Falcons. They try to build tight end out, and it is not done well at all. If Daniel Jones has a year like he did 2 years ago, this is going to be a really good team. If he has a year like last year, this is going to be one of the worst teams in the league. Hands down. You'll see a lot of guys most likely end up getting traded or cut. But yeah, thank you for watching today's episode. That is all for today. It is a little bit shorter. Probably end up being a little closer to like 42 minutes. But yeah, thank you for watching. See y'all next time.